You've triggered my trap card, the Magical Hats. In this series, myself and 3 of the top Yu-Gi-Oh! Streamers will give their unfiltered, uncensored, and uninformed takes on some of Yu-Gi-Oh!'s most pressing issues. The catch? One of these 4 has a fake take, and it's up to the rest to find the liar. It's time to play Magical Hats.
That works.
Well, folks, we are back once again with another heaping helping of hats. I am joined as ever by the one, the only Distant Coder, the one, the only Gage, the one, the only Farfa. How are y'all doing today?
I'm good.
Outstanding, Joseph.
I'm ready to game.
We are going to be talking about a style of card that I'm sure most of you are familiar with, legacy support. So if you don't know, frequently Konami will release cards that support archetypes that were printed previously in new sets. Today we're going to be talking about if the way those cards are made, disseminated, printed, designed is good or not. Basically just legacy support with a big question mark after it. And Kevin, you want to go first?
So, I think legacy support as a whole is good or bad, which I guess I'm just like going to take a very centrist approach here. There's a lot of times Konami will make legacy support for a deck, which will either be, hey, so this deck is really bad. Let's print one card that reads win the game. For example, like Magical Musketeer Max. Like Magical Musket, awful archetype. Max, you look at that and you read, this is the most broken card I've ever seen. It just does literally everything, which all it really achieves in a deck is it makes it so that one specific card must resolve, otherwise the deck is still unplayable. The other kind of legacy support I don't like is when they take an archetype that's bad and they say, yo, give them a floodgate. Where I found legacy support to actually be good is in structure decks. Whenever they release a structure deck for an archetype that was already out, I find that the legacy support that they give it is pretty good. The Dark World one, not the best deck I've ever seen, but still, it wasn't like Floodgate Turbo or whatever. They gave them some, neat stuff that meshes well with the archetype. So whenever you see them in like structure decks, I find that when they give them 2 or 3 cards to round out the archetype, I think that is really good as legacy support. But when they just give them one really strong card or a big Floodgate or something, it's kind of like a cop-out, and I'm not a really big fan of it.
Farfa, what do you got?
So overall, I think legacy support, like obviously as a concept is good, like everyone wants legacy support, but everything else outside of the concept is just bad. The design, the release schedule, everything sucks about legacy support. This is a personal gripe, and it's not very objective, but I hate the disparity in the legacy support. So obviously I understand the anime ones are going to be the most profitable because it's a business, etc., but I just hate how infinitely more legacy support there is for like Blue Eyes and Dark Magician and Heroes than there is for other
Literally
archetypes.
every single pack we get a new Dark Magician and Blue Eyes card.
So I just absolutely hate that because I feel like the community support for something like unironically Volcanics and stuff is like pretty high, right? And talking about like the thing that's the worst as well is the quality of the legacy support. Most legacy support cards are genuinely bad. Like for example, Madolche Sistar is like, that is not what the deck needed, as an example. The Evil Swarm Origin.
That card's like actually still kind of
Like it's a good card, but I
get
understand
what
the
you-
argument is it's not what it needed, but it's still a pretty good card, yeah.
Okay, well, let me give you some more examples. Don't worry. Evil Swarm Origin. That card has 0 mechanical synergy with the deck it was made for. Isolde and Halka Fibrax are badly designed because they are so generic to the point that they're going to get them banned. I'm sure all 3 Crystron players in the world are really upset because that card was really good in Crystron, and then they banned it because of how generic it was.
Rest in peace, hard leg.
Junk Connector, again, anti-synergy. Junk Speeder literally says you cannot perform a summon for the rest of the turn except synchros, and they made a link monster. Just anti-synergy. Shaddoll Construct. Who is flip summoning Shaddoll monsters and then linking away flip monsters?
That card's nice. I'm not gonna lie.
For the most part, like most legacy cards either are not what they need in the sense of like Sistar, are objectively just badly designed like Halka Fibrax, or are so bad that you wouldn't even run them. And like Kevin mentioned, the big cop-out for a lot of legacy support is just, yep, here's a floodgate.
I have a pretty similar take to the last 2, which is going to make finding the imposter either really easy if it's Gage or really hard if it's not. I really gotta agree with Farfa. I feel like the way that legacy support is trickled out is really frustrating. The number one criticism I have of it is one that you both identified, which is they keep giving them fucking floodgates. What is it? Ghost Meets Girl Mayakashi card that just got released. I know so many people that are like deep in the tank on zombie combo, and when they heard there was new Mayakashi stuff, they were so excited just to find out that it's a fucking vanity's emptiness. Like, oh joy. But I also do kind of want to push back about like Kevin's point about how some structures give good stuff to legacy archetypes. The Dark World one, for instance, while Genta searches Gates of Dark World, the only other Dark World from the old series that you're playing is like maybe Saluri Silva if you're doing hand loop stuff. Like, frequently when they retrain archetypes, it's done in such a way that either the old cards are huge, terrible bricks you never want to draw, like how Gate Guardian has played out, or new cards completely eclipse the old cards. And if that's the case, why not just retrain them? You know, why not just play, you know, ABC style archetypes in which there's new cards that evoke the same feeling as the legacy support, but you don't have to play like fucking V Tiger Jet or something. I guess the one place I'd say I really do like legacy support is when it's released for archetypes that came out in like the last 3 years. Like, they have hit it out of the park with some cards like Diameter, Rika Princess, but these are like the support card that was missing from the original wave of an archetype that was released in 2019. Like, if you go back pre-Duelist Alliance, you are probably not saving those archetypes.
Okay. All right. Well, picking back off of what you said, Joseph, the thing is like, I think Konami is established with how they've been creating legacy support now is to sometimes make these older archetypes plausible to be playable at all. You have to give it a completely different reskin, like you said. One of the things that really reminds me is like Archfiends. Like, they got announced for Archfiend support back in the day, and the Archfiend support literally does nothing. Nothing similar to the regular OG Archfiends. And even Naturia, too. The new Naturia card, you play just the new Naturia cards and then, like, one copy of Sunflower, and that's what you're doing. And I'm going to say, I don't think that's that bad of a thing, right? Like, another thing you can really, like, assume is, like, cards that got a completely different retrain were the Ishizu cards, right? Like, they don't do anything that Agido and Keldo and stuff. How are you going to make those cards playable, right?
To be fair, those old cards don't do anything anyway, right? They
yeah, so I mean, like, I think it's some
but the Gate Guardian pieces don't do anything, and they throw those in there.
Yeah, so in some niche scenarios, I think you have to give an entirely different retrain to these cards because you just have to represent how far the game has come, and you have to adapt the cards to actually do anything. Otherwise, you're just releasing like literal shovelware support that nobody wants. But I think for the most part, to sometimes make these archetypes good, you do have to just give them a new reskin and give them a new lease on life. And sometimes doing a complete 180 is the only way to possibly do that.
Yeah, I want to clarify real quick. I have no problem with retrains. I think retrains are a cool take on it. I have more of a problem when Konami tries to like force a card like Gate Guardian into the square hole of, you know, play this card in a format where you need to be able to beat a 9-zone lock.
Oh, I mean, that goes back to the Gate Guardian. Like, the only way, I think you were arguing how the cards are unplayable bricks, right? The OG Gate Guardian, Suijin in them. Mm-hmm. Like, you play the one-ofs in their OG bricks, and, like, you don't like that, right?
No.
How are you going to make Suijin, Songa the Thunder, and what's the last guy? Yeah, Ass Blast, the Beast Boy,
yeah,
what's his name?
I think it's impossible.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they should release new versions, and we should just have had a retrain archetype.
So are you guys in agreement here or no? I can't tell.
I think Joseph and Gage are kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, this is weird because I feel like we're all saying, like, pretty similar things, which is going to make it impossible to suss out.
I feel like no one here is quite literally saying, I heckin' love legacy support. I want more of it, and I want just a bunch of legacy support. But I do think we have...
No, I'm saying I want more legacy support, yeah.
Yeah, like, I do want that. I just want it to be good and relevant and synergistic with the archetype it was made for.
Okay, so are we just going into open conversation now?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what to ask. Like,
okay, so. I do know a few things to ask here. Farfa, I want to ask you something first because you were saying how you feel as though stuff like Isolde and Hulk are like unbelievably broken and are a bad example of what legacy support should be because they're just overly generic and just too powerful and playable and everything. Mm-hmm. How do you, Mr. Burning Abyss Man, feel about Cherubini? Do you feel like that's a bad example of legacy support, or is that a good example of legacy support?
I think, like, because Cherubini hasn't been meta relevant enough, I think there's definitely, absolutely a corridor for Cherubini to have broken the game, depending on what the card pool was at the time.
Oh, you give it a couple years, it could still happen.
Yeah, like Cherubini's definitely like in that same sort of what's the word? Realm of danger that like Isolde Halkar, because of how generic it is. Level 2, level 3s is pretty generic, and Foolish Burial for cost from deck, that could definitely get out of hand at some point. Anyway, I don't know really who to pick out here. I would say maybe like, I feel like maybe Gage, because I feel like maybe you tried to create conflict from nothing really.
Why would you think that though?
I want to hear.
Well,
more,
we need to
I wanna
catch
hear more
someone,
what
so
Gage
I
has
don't know
say.
what to like.
I want to hear more what Gage has to say, because I understand your point. I understand where you're coming from, but I also would like to know, like, what did you think was a good example of legacy support? What did you think was a bad example of legacy support?
Good examples of legacy support, right? Even the Naturia that I've been playing recently. I think that's actually an okay example of legacy support. Like I said, like sometimes you just have to rip the band-aid off and say like these archetypes in their general state, like nobody's gonna play fucking Cliff, no one's gonna play Stink Bug and stuff like that. We need to completely revamp this archetype if it wants to be playable at all. Like who's setting cherries in 2023?
Didn't even
and I
name
think
the
to like
good
take
one,
those
dude,
steps
like
to like
bamboo
completely
shoot.
make it good. Sometimes you just have to rework the whole thing. And you know what? I think that's okay. I think like starting from ground zero to make an archetype playable, just utilizing the name, I think gets people excited, right? Like people really resonate with these archetypes. Even if you have to completely rework it to make it playable again, it gets players excited.
All right, here's one. Joseph, what is... thoughts on the hero legacy support?
Oh, come on, man. Don't do this to me. All right, I am fully aware that hero falls into the category of this archetype gets support every 15 days, and it's really annoying for people who don't give a shit about it. But I think that they've done a pretty good job of trickling out new hero cards that play well with the existing hero strategy. Cards like DPE, cards like Wake Up Your E-Hero. I think they are well designed. I think they enable you to play the deck the same way it's been played for a while. I like them, but I get fatigue over them. I understand people who are like, no more heroes, please.
Well,
I'm at a loss, bro.
I think I've got to guess at who it is though.
How?
all right, Gage, is it you?
For what, huh?
The imposter.
That was a good, that's the question. Yeah.
We'll try to
Great
figure it out.
question.
Is it
yes.
you?
Wait, did you just say yes?
What?
Did you just say yes?
No.
I swear I heard you say yes.
No.
I think I have my guess. I'm not super confident in it, but I do have a guess.
Okay, all right. Let's go.
Okay. If this person baited me, I'm gonna be upset.
Same.
All right, I'm ready when you guys are.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1.
It's me. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Huh?
So everything that Joseph said right before me, like literally echoes exactly what I think. Like I think like what you were saying about how I think the legacy support that's really good is the one where it's like those archetypes released in the last few years where you could be like, man, if only this archetype had a Stratos, or this archetype had that one card, and then they get that one card, and it fits in perfectly with the already established
They
archetype.
get the
and
Prank
works.
Kids Link 1, baby!
Like it actually just makes it work, right? I think those are like when a legacy support at its best. I actually I'm not a fan of like the entire reskins of stuff like that. I get you can't make Keldo and Ishizu and stuff like that playable without completely revamping the card, but you take a look at something like Sacred Beast, right? Nobody plays the OG Sacred Beast because they all had to get revamped to do anything at all. And like at that point, for the cards to do something completely different, are you actually playing Sacred Beasts? Or are you just playing a new archetype that they decided to put the Sacred Beast name onto, right? I think that's super lazy, and I think it's just better to like, if you're gonna make a card that supports an existing archetype, actually make it support the existing cards. Could you imagine if you actually played Naturia Cherries in 2023? That would be dope
That'd
as
be
fuck,
so
bro. That's
nice.
such
That
a
would
cool
be- that would
card.
be actually-
Dude,
Gage
when you said-
hard
when you
debated.
said-
I had no read on Gage at all. I'm gonna be honest.
All right, we got to wrap this one up.
oh, I mean, okay, I thought we already wrapped it up.
Wrap it up
I
like a
just
little
thought we
like a little sandwich.
Your little outro.
yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Come back next time.
Bye.
There you go. That's it. That's the end.
Bye.
I thought we were done like a couple minutes ago. Okay.
Kick, bye.